I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your bullish bit brought to you by Bitrefill.com, your one-stop shop for living on a Bitcoin standard. Sign up and grab gift cards for eSIMs, gaming, e-commerce, your travel needs, food, and much more, and you can buy them all with Bitcoin and Lightning. Sign up today and use code BTC Sessions 10 for some special perks.
The most concerning thing to me about institutional scale adoption of Bitcoin is, just like you said, BTC Sessions, when you self-custody, if there's an issue with the social consensus of Bitcoin, where we are determining a soft fork, or worse, potentially, a hard fork, like a Bcash situation, you, if you self-custody, don't care either way, because you get both sides when it splits, right? And usually, historically, the best thing to do is sell the hard fork of Bitcoin that does not follow Satoshi's rules, financially. But nonetheless, you are afforded both coins. You could just literally hold them if you don't know what's going to happen. Now you get institutions like BlackRock involved. They have massive stashes of Bitcoin in whatever self-custody solution they have, but you don't have the right as an individual to vote or do anything with the coins you have. And in the event of a split, what rights do you have to both sides? And for example, BlackRock's prospectus for their ETF says that, hey, if we split, we're allowed to sell whichever fork of Bitcoin we deem not to be Bitcoin. And they can take the cash profits from that and do whatever with that. But the fact is, you as the individual aren't afforded the ability to get both sides. That also has influence socially as well. If BlackRock, with their big hoard of Bitcoin that everybody's invested their real world time into trading energy for shares of something they don't actually custody, says we support, for example, something that most Bitcoiners don't support at the actual transactional level, well, they're going to have some sway in the social consensus of what is Bitcoin. If they support bigger blocks, some people will follow on that side. They will upgrade their nodes. They will attempt to fork Bitcoin. They may persuade miners. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of the social consensus and the weight that that entity represents by kind of custodying such a large amount of Bitcoin versus kind of having a nice distribution that is custodied amongst individuals. But the main thing is the individuals buying shares of ETFs or any other paper Bitcoin have no privilege or guarantee they will get both sides of any fork in the event of one. And so that's why self-custody is so beautiful, is you get these benefits that don't apply to an ETF, which is purely exposure to price. I mean, technically there could be redemption. One nice thing about a Bitcoin ETF compared to a gold ETF, in my own opinion, is theoretically they could prove ownership of the coins that they claim, right? So they could sign a message from an address they have. That is not possible with like any traditional gold ETF, etc. So that's very nice, and Bitcoin would shine in that regard. But yeah, in terms of price, Bitcoin will do its thing, whether or not regulatory approval happens. I feel this is horrible of me to say. It's inevitable because, like you guys were kind of talking about earlier, the blow-ups that happen of these institutions, they all kind of stem from one thing: rehypothecation or creation of paper Bitcoin that doesn't actually exist. I think that's actually one of humanity's greatest temptations, is always to create some sort of money to steal time from others or basically get an edge up. And just as governments print money from thin air, private institutions also attempt to create it. But Bitcoin is literally the mathematical anchor that you can't defy gravity. Like at the end of the day, you can always face check because it's a public ledger. So yeah, I think there's going to be absolutely some ETF is going to have an issue at some point, I believe, whether that be because somebody actually rugs the funds or there's a technical issue in the style of Prime Trust, for example, like, hey, we sent 80 million of Bitcoin to this address and our tech guy didn't actually program it right. We don't have a private key for that. So I think there will be little kind of mishaps like that propagate and compound into much larger problems.